Well, welcome everyone. My name's Tim Racette. I blog over at eminimind.com, and today we're going to be talking about how you can 80-20 your trading for better results, or how you can do what matters and do less of what doesn't matter. We're also going to talk about a lot of little trading hacks or key things that I've found to be very beneficial in my own trading and have sort of really taken me to the next level. You call them light bulb moments or key things that have happened along my trading career. So lots of good stuff to talk about today. For those that are unfamiliar with myself, as I mentioned, my name is Tim Racette, and I blog over at eMiniMind. I've been trading since about 2006, and I am originally from the Chicagoland area. Got my start kind of downtown at the Board of Trade, had the opportunity to go down there and meet a lot of the folks in the trading pits and spent a little time down on the floor. And the guys on the floor really did not encourage us, my friend and I, to make a career down there. The pits have been shrinking over the years, and so they put us in touch with some guys up in Lake Forest who'd been trading on the screen since like the late 80s, and got us going with E-mini futures trading, day trading, and the rest is kind of history. But what they did instill in us from the beginning were some really key helpful principles, I guess, if you will, to make sure that we don't blow up accounts and kind of do things that would really set you back. So I feel like I had a really, really good foundational trading experience and got to learn from some really good traders who'd been trading for a long, long time. And so that's some of the wisdom that I'd like to pass on to you all today. I mostly day trade the E-mini futures, but I also do some swing trading of stocks, and I do find that they're a nice pair. And when it comes to psychology and discipline and sort of these what can be a little bit holistic approach to trading, the more that you can kind of balance things out, both your time in front of the screen and your time away being able to process and put things together and come up with ideas and whatnot. Having a small, very short-term day trading time frame paired with a slightly longer term swing trading time frame, I find is another really good way to add some balance, because in markets like we're currently in, there's a lot of day trading opportunities. There's big moves intraday, but holding on to a stock or an individual security for a swing trade can be a little bit more difficult. And then other times when volatility is really low, you can be in some swing trades for weeks and months, but the intraday ranges are a little smaller. So regardless of what market you're trading or what time frame you're trading, you'll be able to pick up a lot of good bits and pieces here from today's presentation. So day trade most of the E-mini futures and swing trade individual stocks. I've had the pleasure of speaking in a number of the Traders Expos and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and put together some pieces for Futures Magazine and whatnot. And then also had the pleasure to do a number of the presentations here, the virtual expos and things like that with David and the crew. Outside of trading, I like to get outdoors as much as possible. I'm an avid mountain biker and like to do a lot of exploring outdoors. So I am originally from the Chicagoland area, as I mentioned, and then moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona, which is pretty much the best place you can be in the winter after coming from Chicago and the cold and the wind and all that stuff. And then I spend my summers up in South Dakota in the Black Hills. So it's a nice, again, a nice balance between, the Arizona beautiful weather in the winter and then getting out of the heat in the summer. So like to do a lot outside, and just by getting out away from the trading screen. I mean, if you think back to those light bulb moments you've had, or times where you've put two and two together after kind of beating your head against the wall, or you had a tough trading session. The most convenient, the most times that I've had those light bulb moments have always come from being outside, going on a walk, reading a book about something completely unrelated to trading. And then it's like, poof, something clicks. And so the more you can get outside and get away from the trading screen, in little short spurts even, the better your trading will be. You know, as soon as you get a stop out or something, even if you just get up, refill your coffee and sit back down 30 seconds, it kind of does a little bit of a reset, and you can just clear your head, leave, sit back down. Okay, on to the next trade. So we'll talk about some more of those bits and pieces as well. But I always like to share a little bit about my background and some of who I am, so you can kind of get that picture of where I'm coming from and the things that have worked for me, how you can maybe apply those to your own life. I am a Arizona State Sun Devil, so I went to ASU for college, and I really got started trading at I guess a fairly young age, and had the benefit of limited responsibility, limited expenses, when you're young, and naive in a way. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And so being able to just jump in and have big blocks of time to focus and dedicate to trading was really beneficial. If you're coming to trading and you've had a career and you still have a day job, and you're looking to get more active because you're just interested in your investments and whatnot, and you got a family and kids and other obligations and bills to pay, it can definitely slow down some of the trajectory because your focus is so much split between so many other things. So if you can block out time on a regular basis to be consistent, every single day, little bits of time every single day, those small chunks can really add up. So you can do something like a trading retreat or something where you get away for a week at a time, and you put your head down and really work on your craft of trading. But I find that it can be just as beneficial to get in a rhythm of, okay, this is my time window that I'm going to trade for the day, and I'm going to do a little bit of homework in the evening and just kind of focus on those 2 blocks of time, but then be very consistent day after day after day. And so a lot of the analogies and stories that I throw out when I talk with traders have to do with sports and just high level athletes and how they kind of integrate their profession, their sport, into their life to make it a sustainable long-term endeavor. So as I was putting together my presentation here, try something a little bit different. A lot of what we're going to cover doesn't really have a lot of charts and visuals and things, because we're talking more about the psychological side, and kind of as the name kind of implies, mini mind, I put a big emphasis on the mental side of trading. And just like in most sports, once you get the technique down, in a lot of ways, that's the easy part. Figuring out how to shoot the free throw is not that difficult. It's shooting the free throw under pressure with all of the other factors that are coming into play. So learning the trading strategy or your entry is usually the easy part. It's, what am I going to do when I get into the trade? How am I going to manage it? And how are my emotions going to throw me off? And so you see a lot of folks who, you'll dabble on a sim account and have some luck or some success there, and then you move to the e-minis, or if you're or the micros, or you're just trading 1 or 2 shares of stock, and all of a sudden your emotions come into play and really start throwing you for a loop. So I'll talk about some ways that you can combat that, but I don't have a lot of visuals, so we'll be doing mostly audio here. And if you want to kind of sit back and close your eyes to soak it in, you're more than welcome to. So where I want to start is kind of that top-down, bigger picture, and then we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts of what you can do specifically in your trading to 80-20, or to focus on the 80% of, well, put it another way, focus on the 20% that gives you 80% of the return. And a lot of times we get stuck with, busy, busy, busy. Everyone's always so busy and doesn't have time, or is just so overwhelmed with putting out fires every single day that you never really get to the building phase. Or if you think of it like a business owner, I know a lot of folks, that come to trading can be a little bit more, into, the IT fields, or business owners, or, doctors and dentists tend to have a really hard time with trading. And it kind of starts with defining your success and where you want to get to. Like, what is the goal here of trading? And that way, when you can define what your goal is, then it makes it a lot easier to get through the ups and downs, or, if you're having a hard week, or even a hard month, it's like, okay, what is the reason that I'm doing this? And so if you can start by kind of painting a picture of what your perfect day looks like, then you can work towards that. And so you're not focused so much on, okay, I just want to grow my account as big as possible, or I want to trade all day, every day. If the goal is you want to quit your job so that you have more time to spend with your grandkids, or to golf, or whatever it is that you like to do, then your success is going to look a lot different than somebody else. And the amount of money that you need to make in your trading might look a lot different than somebody else. But if you're only looking to make $1,000 a week, and that's achievable by trading the morning. Like, I like to trade the first hour and a half of the day after the NYSE opens, and then I get out of there and go ride my bike and do other stuff. And in doing so, I'm a lot more focused and in tune with the market for those 90 minutes, that I end up trading better. And over the years, I have kind of dialed back my trading from trading all day long. I would even wake up and trade the European Open. And, over time, I've sort of scaled back my time window. And that's allowed me to, kind of ironically, make more by trading less. So you need to start with, what does your perfect day look like? And then you can work on structuring the pieces and, okay, where does trading fit into that perfect day? If it's, well, I work all the time, I really like to just work a little bit less and have time. Most of the time, people are looking for more time. And so sometimes trading is not the answer to that goal or that success that you're looking for. Maybe you just need to, invest in a franchise and hire a quality manager to run the shop, and then you gain that passive income and you have time. And so you don't necessarily want to, or most folks don't want to trade their time working a 9 to 5 for sitting in front of the computer and trading from 9 to 5. And instead of going in every day and getting a somewhat guaranteed paycheck, trading, as you know, is not anything like that. So you've taken the stress of the 9 to 5, but the comfort of the paycheck, and turned it into working 9 to 5, but having the stress of make money, lose money, make money, lose money. And how can I balance, that income generation from trading with the least amount of stress possible, so that I can trade better? Because as soon as you start to get into that stressful scenario, or, you say, I'm going to quit my job and start trading full time, and all of a sudden this pressure starts to mount, and the psychological pressures there end up forcing you to trade poorly. So defining your success is is really very important. The things that you value are going to be different than the things the next person values. So, for me, being able to, go out and ride my bike and be able to, race and compete at a high level at this point in my life is very valuable. When I'm, 60 or 70 years old, I'm not going to be competing in the mountain bike scene, as I am now, in my younger years. So to me, waiting and working until I'm 55, 60, 65, and then, quote unquote, retiring was not very valuable. So trying to identify those values ahead of time so that, again, you can insert trading as a piece into your puzzle or a piece of the pie will then help you really have a clear vision for what you're trying to achieve. And the more clarity you can bring into your life, and in that trading piece specifically, okay, why am I doing this? Then it makes it very easy to get through hard times and challenging obstacles. So what's value to you, what's valuable to you, and what is meaningful to you is going to look a lot different than the next person. And if you can, do things to trim down your expenses and, put your money and your time into things that you value, most people are surprised at how little it takes to be happy. And the things that, really make us the most happy might be sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee with your spouse or your, grandkids or kids or whatnot. And, that perfect day does not have to cost very much money. And then all of a sudden that starts to free up your mind to say, well, if I don't need as much money as I thought, then I don't necessarily need to trade as big as I thought, or I could trade, a little bit smaller size and have less psychological pressure in being in this trade and the fear of, well, what if I lose this money, or what if I have a stop out or two stop outs in a row? I can't handle that much of a loss. And it dials it back to, oh, this is pretty manageable. I feel more in control. I can place trades and my heart rate doesn't start pounding as soon as I get into a trade because my size is, monstrous. And so all these little things that you do to lead up to building that perfect day really have a big impact on your trading. In sports, that mental, you do a lot of things, especially in cycling or these endurance sports, these ultra runners and the cycling world. You do a lot of things, you tell yourself a lot of things to kind of trick yourself into pushing past the pain. And so with trading, finding ways to, disassociate yourself from the money, the dollars, and mentally just making it a game of, trading well and mastering your trading and your setups, and trying to be as consistent as possible, repeating the same setups each and every day, exiting the trade the same way every single time. It takes a lot of the second guessing out of the equation. And we'll get into some more of those nuts and bolts here in a minute. So the next kind of holistic piece is kind of what I call process goals, and then we'll get into some more specifics. But you kind of have to start with the top down, because if you just dive in head first, and it's like if you jump into a new job and then you're okay, here are all the tasks we need you to do, but you don't really know what the company does and what the mission is. It's like, oh, well, why am I doing all these things? Versus if okay, if I do these things, I'm helping people do X, or I'm helping other people achieve this goal, or I'm producing this product. The baby formula is a great example. It's been in the news lately. Folks who work at those types of places, they're having an impact. And so it can be a much more motivating and inspiring day to day when you know that, yeah, I might just be working, on the processing line or in the plant, and it might not feel like you're doing that much, but knowing that the end goal is feeding babies is and saving lives and stuff like that, that can get you going if you're having a rough day. So the process goals are sort of the pieces that help you get to that larger goal, or that perfect day, if you will, or the for those Tim Ferriss fans, 4-hour work week, just kind of putting together that bigger picture. So if you focus on mastering your technique of trading and lean on, a sim account for that purpose, don't worry so much about, the dollars and cents of things. Really narrow down your focus to, okay, how am I going to enter the trade? How am I going to exit? Both if it goes in my favor or if it goes against me. It's pretty easy to just set a stop, and if it goes against you, get taken out. But what are you going to do if the trade goes your way? And how are you going to exit? Are you going to trail your stop or have a fixed target? And I prefer to kind of do a combination of the two, where I have a small first target and a trail stop, but kind of getting those pieces mastered before you start adding the psychological component makes it a lot easier. Just like you would, go practice your chip shot at the range or practice your drive. And then once you get onto the course and you have, in the PGA's case, you got, people screaming and shouting and other curveballs that come into play, then you're not really thinking about your swing and you're not thinking about the setup. You just do it subconsciously. So if you can focus on mastering your trading technique and really define, okay, what market I'm going to trade, what's my time frame, what's my exact entry, or pretty close, then once you're in a trade with real money on the line, things can become a lot easier to manage, and you can almost compartmentalize the trading execution from the emotional side and become very aware that, okay, I'm trading 2 contracts. This isn't very stressful. And then all of a sudden, a couple months go by, maybe you double to 4, and then you go to 6, and it's like, oh, why am I getting all, hot and clammy as I'm in these trades? I'm doing the same thing. I'm placing the same trade execution, but it's that emotional side that you can be more conscious of because of the trade size. So it's good to be able to kind of set smaller goals and say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks just kind of dialing in my trading technique, and I'm just going to do it on sim. I'm going to make sure I'm comfortable with my platform so that I don't make a silly mistake on my trade ladder as I'm trying to manage a trade or whatnot. And then for those that are day trading, you could move to the micros and say, okay, I'm going to make 50 trades on the micro ES or the micro NASDAQ or whatever you're trading. And I'm not going to focus too much on changing my strategy at this point. I'm just going to place the trades based on what I come up with in the next couple of weeks and from practicing on sim. And then after those 50 trades, then I can look through my data. Okay, what's my win rate? What's my losing percentage? What's my average winner? Is there anything that stands out with my losing trades? Anything that stands out in my winning trades? Is there things I could eliminate that would help me eliminate losing trades and maybe stay in some of my winners longer? Are my results even any good? Or do I need to go back to the drawing board and scrap this strategy or redo it or find something else? But if you kind of do it in that way to where you're progressing with a small process goal, then you can sort of almost have this roadmap to say, okay, if I get to 50 trades and my results are good and I'm feeling confident, then I can work my way to the regular E-mini and then kind of ratchet up the size from there. And if I do 50 trades and things aren't going well, then I can go back to drawing board, make some tweaks, place another 50 trades on the micros. You don't really have much at risk because the dollar amount's so small. The goal there is not to make a bunch of money trading the micros. It's to focus on mastering the technique. And then just kind of the day to day or the week to week of that process, if it's in line with the bigger goal to getting you to that perfect day or the ideal day, then it's very motivating to come into the trading session. And I plan out my trading or my racing season with specific races, and then you kind of work backwards from the most important events, and then you work backwards to, okay, I need to be peaking and tapering and doing big rides and then doing base rides, and you put this whole season together, and then I don't really look at it too much after that. Then it's just kind of, okay, the day to day, what is this week? What is the goal for the day? What is the goal for the week here? And I can just focus in on that and know that it fits into a bigger picture plan. And I've kind of got this roadmap, but I don't really need to focus on the finish line right now. I just need to focus on, okay, getting through this interval, getting through this specific trade. And then you can push that much harder. You can be that much more focused with, okay, I just need to master this trade and trade it well, and then I can move on to the next one. So mastering the technique is the first thing. I find it helpful if you keep a log or a journal of your mistakes and just kind of review that. You just keep it fresh in your mind, kind of like the basics of, blocking and tackling, or whatever sport analogy you want to use, like always coming back to those basics. In this way, it's kind of like doing the opposite. Okay, I made a mistake last week. I took away my stop, or I doubled my stop after I got in the position, and I ended up taking a big loser. Yeah, I don't want to do that again. So keeping a log and making sure that you don't make that same mistake twice can really help accelerate your learning curve. And then it gets to the point where it's like, well, I get in the car and I put on my seatbelt. I don't even think about it. Or I get on my bike and I throw on my helmet, and it's just subconscious. And then if you're conscious of these mistakes up front, after a month or so, then it's like it just becomes unconscious and you just do it. And you don't even think about breaking some of these fundamental rules that can really derail you and start that downward snowball and get you off track. So that's a helpful one. And then I like to pick one thing to work on each session. And so I'll do this, when I'm out riding, or I'll do this in trading. And it's like, okay, if I'm having a rough go, it might just be, to get through the trading session with the feeling like I was present and I'm there going through the motions. It might not even be to make money that day. It's just, okay, show up, go through the routine. Okay, I'm looking at, start the day. Where were we trading in the overnight? Where's the prior day's high, low, close? And just kind of get back in my rhythm. And it's almost like going through the motions can help you get back on track. And then as you start to get in a groove, you might say, okay, I'm going to focus on trailing my stop today. And when I get into a trade, I'm really going to focus on just, trailing swing lows if I'm long, and just make sure I'm very diligent and focused on, okay, here's the next swing low and bring my stop up. Or if I'm swing trading, it's like, I'm just going to focus on only looking at the chart at the end of the day. So a nice thing about pairing day trading and swing trading together is I will I'll do my day trading in the morning. And then if I have a swing trade or like a put hedge or something on, I manage those at the close. So I keep them separate, and I don't even really pay much attention throughout the day to what the stock is doing, because I know that I'm only going to manage the trade at the end of the day. So I can just kind of ignore what's going on intraday. And so just that practice can be really helpful, because there's there's a lot of distractions, and you can always find there's just, you could be trading every day all day long. There's always markets open, and it can become kind of overwhelming. So trying to simplify things and just focusing on one thing is really beneficial. So as far as 80-20 goes, I think the real question is to ask yourself each week or each day even, what's working and what's not. So what I like to do at the end of each week is ask myself that question and just jot down a couple notes. What worked this week and what didn't work this week? Oh yeah, buying halfway backs worked really well this week. Buying pullbacks worked well trading. But buying breakouts did not. And so I just make those notes and I just keep a running Word doc, and then I can kind of scroll back through them and find patterns. And so for me, like reading just 5 or 10 minutes to start the day is a really helpful way to kind of just get the creative juices flowing and just kind of get in a good headspace. And just by asking myself, oh, I had a really good week this week. What worked for me this week and what didn't work? And then you slowly start doing more of what's working and less of what's not. And you get kind of that 1% better each day approach, and all of a sudden you're really turning a corner. And that can be a really helpful way to get out of a rut as well. But just asking yourself each week what's working and what's not, and then be conscious of making those adjustments. I like to trade in the morning. If you're swing trading, pick a time of the day, like morning or close, to be putting on your trades, or maybe you just set your orders, and then if they trigger throughout the day, you don't even have to really be there. But if you can narrow down your time window, that's also a really good way to focus on the 20% of the day where you can make 80% of the profits. Sure, you can maybe make a little bit more by sitting there for another 6 hours, but if I can get 80% of it done in 2 hours and then free up 6 hours to go do something else, and then be fresh and mentally focused when I come in the next day and not tired and whatnot, that's definitely, I would take that trade-off for sure. Focusing on one strategy is always a very good approach. It's very easy to bounce around and do something for 1 week, and you have a bad day or a bad week, and then you're like, oh, I'm jumping ship, this isn't working, time for the next thing. Focus in on one strategy and give yourself a process goal of a certain number of trades, and then review them. So no less than 20. Make at least 20 trades and then look at the data and consider making a change. Don't have one trade and it's a little bit obscure and you say, oh, I got to revamp my whole system based on this one result. 1 or 2 markets is a good place to start. Like if you're just trading the ES, that's plenty. If you want to do the ES and the NQ, even that can get to be a lot at times, especially the NQ, because it moves so fast. But pick a small basket of stocks if you're going to swing trade, and just kind of start there. Then you can expand. You can double, triple your contract size over time. It's easy to expand, but you want to really get the strategy mastered, and then you can go from there and get bigger and grow. And then focusing on quality over quantity. I always emphasize on placing fewer trades that are good quality versus trying to up my frequency, because if you're going to play the frequency game, you're competing with computerized hedge funds and things that are running these algos and computers that are doing the frequency way faster than we could ever do manually. So you're better off focusing on quality, not trying to scalp for a tick or two or for pennies, trying to have good reward to risk that's at least 2 to 1 and good quality trades. And mentally, I think that's a lot easier to handle versus just kind of being on this panic all day of get in, get out, get in, get out, and you're just hitting the buy market, sell market over and over, and you get to the end of the day and you probably feel like you just ran a marathon or something. I like to put a lot of emphasis on limiting my drawdowns. What can I do to eliminate losing trades, versus going back to this quality over quantity, versus trying to increase the frequency of my trades. So looking at the trades that I have placed and over the years kind of determining, okay, well, I really don't have very good results in the afternoon for a host of reasons. So let me just kind of exclude that time window, and that will help eliminate drawdowns. I'm not giving so much back. I make money in the morning, and then maybe I have a winner or 2 in the afternoon, but on the whole, the afternoon is not very profitable. So I'm just going to focus on the morning. Anything you can do to limit your drawdown will help keep the momentum going and help keep you out of those ruts. I think becoming comfortable not placing a trade is also really helpful. And when you have a swing trade going, or a put hedge, or some type of, you probably have 401k or some type of retirement account with a, perma long position. At least if the market goes up and you're not in a day trade, that you're still capitalizing on the move. Like if I'm in a swing trade where I'm holding overnight and the market gaps up, I feel less pressure to have to jump in a day trade and do something because I'm capitalizing over here. And so there's lots of things as traders we can do, like buying puts when the market goes down and hedging long, that the hedge market model of hedging a long position versus having to close it out, sell your portfolio, pick the top, and then buy it all back at the bottom. Mentally that can be very, very difficult, let alone the execution part of it. So we have a lot of benefits by being active traders to do those kinds of things that other folks don't. So the most important thing that you can really do is to be intentional and to take action. So we talk about all these things that you can do to kind of become a more efficient trader, because that's really what you're doing. You're trying to optimize your trading to make money, make the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And that's what you do in training. How can I make the most gains with the least amount of effort, so that I can do other things, rest and recover and that kind of thing. But being very intentional and having a purpose for everything that you're doing. Every ride that I go on has some sort of purpose. It might just be to clear my head and go spin and enjoy enjoy nature, or it might be to work on a specific drill or skill. And those same things you can do every day you come into your trading. Okay, I'm going to follow my routine. I'm going to run through my checklist. And, if I get to the end of the day and I haven't placed a trade, it's still a successful day. And then the next day I can work on, something else and something else and just kind of build from there. So yeah, without the intentionality and taking action, you really are just treading water. The internet's great, but there is a lot of crap out there, and you can go down a rabbit hole of watching videos on YouTube and wake up and it's 2 a.m. And so if you learn, read, and watch all these videos and take in all of this knowledge, but then you don't do anything with it, you're really no better off than not knowing what you just learned. So the action part is really very, very important. And the knowledge is great, but that applied knowledge is really where the power comes from. So taking action and being intentional are really the most important things that you can do to grow, just in general, whether it's trading or anything. So a couple things that I found very, very helpful for me are to meditate. And even if it's just sitting quietly or laying down in a park somewhere in the grass and just closing your eyes and just kind of getting away from a lot of the screen stuff or just all the movement and commotion that goes on, whether it's on the TV or on the computer or whatnot. And meditating is, I find, a very grounding experience to have a lot of self-awareness when you're trading. And obviously a lot of this is, coming from my cycling background, but yeah, meditating I found to be very helpful. And then visualizing as well. Even like I picture, okay, I get into a trade and I hear the ding of my trade ladder and I get in and then, oh, ding, I'm already stopped out. And it's like I visualize that before I place the trade. Okay, well, I took a stop out, on to the next one. I've already accepted the worst case scenario. And so that way, when I actually do get into the trade, if it doesn't stop me out right away, I'm already ahead. I've already visualized and accepted that worst case scenario. Okay, yeah, I'm comfortable taking, that loss. And then you get in the trade and you're a lot more calm and you can think clearly, because you will be a lot more objective when you're not in a trade. As soon as you get in a trade, all of a sudden things can start to get a a little more challenging, as I'm sure you've experienced. I like to listen to actually classical piano when I trade or do work. This goes back to my college days writing papers. There's something about the music where it kind of distracts your brain just enough, but not so much where there's words and things that you're focusing on. So you might try that if you have trouble focusing. I also like to lay out, okay, what would a successful week look like? If I get to Friday, what would an successful week look like? So if it's Sunday, you can kind of, if there's a couple things you wanted to achieve that week or something specific in your trading that you wanted to overcome a challenge, lay that out ahead of time. And then that whole week, you're sort of doing little things to bring you closer to that. And then you get to Friday and you feel really good when you checked off those, 3 important things you had to do for the week, or you mastered a specific trading skill that you wanted to work on. That's a really good way, like focusing on that end feeling and laying that out ahead of time. I also find it's really helpful to plan breaks. So in sports, it might be an off season, but in trading, planning breaks around things like long weekends. You might have a futures rollover or options expiration that sometimes those weeks can get a little bit goofy, and so, or Fed meeting, those weeks can get a little challenging. So I tend to plan those breaks ahead of time and build them into my trading so that it keeps me kind of refreshed, and I have these breaks throughout the year, and then I come back and I'm refreshed and I can keep going. If you just trade and you get into a rough patch and you try to trade your way out of it, mentally that can be really, really taxing. So plan some breaks, fun things to do, get away, especially in the summer. I tend to take more Fridays and longer weekends and whatnot, and markets will always be there, so you can always come back the next day and trade, and no big deal. Better to be rested and refreshed than come in stressed and whatnot. I mentioned earlier, I like to, even if you just read a couple of pages, it doesn't even have to be about trading. It could be fiction or whatever, just something that kind of gets your juices flowing. I find reading, real books there's something different about reading a book versus, reading a news article on your phone or something like that. So reading in the morning is really helpful. And then writing things down. I'm a big fan of Post-it notes. And so as I go through my trading through the day, I'll make some notes on a Post-it, and then I'll enter that into my log later in the day, or I'll, write down, oh, I didn't do that very well, or I made a mistake or whatnot. And so by just actually writing it down, like the act of writing it is a lot of science behind the actual writing is the benefit. And a lot of times, I'll write a list of things down and then you remember it just because you wrote it down. And then the last thing is to, kind of just start, just get up and get going. Even if it's just, okay, today I'm gonna, open my trading account. Today I'm gonna open the sim account and start practicing, or I'm gonna take out a 3x5 note card and start condensing my big detailed trading plan down into one 3x5 note card, and just pick something and start. Even if it's just 20 minutes of trying to draw up your trade setups on the chart and go through the morning session, and then that's all you do for the day. It gets the ball rolling. It's taking that first step, putting on your gym shorts or whatnot, and just walking out the door. And then all of a sudden, you're starting to see small bits of momentum, and then it becomes easy and then just a habit of going to the gym. And every day you've sort of integrated, okay, I wake up, I have my coffee, kids go off to school, I sit down and I trade for an hour and a half, and then I go about my day. And it just starts to become second nature. But trading is definitely a long game. And I mean, unless you really hit it just right and take some big risks and kind of go the Tim Sykes model, where you invest a lot and make a lot in a very, very short amount of time, and then you can kind of coast after that. I would say that would be the exception, not the norm. So if you're already retired and you're just looking for something to, you like the markets and you're looking for something to do, that's another good reason to really focus in on a small time window, because we only have so much time on Earth, so you might as well make the most of it. And as much as I enjoy trading, there's certainly other things that I would rather be doing at times. And if I can do a little bit of trading and bike riding and time with my family and all that stuff, it just makes your day so much more enjoyable. So there's really you can do all this stuff, and you can read and learn and put things into practice, but there's really no shortcut for the time in front of the screen. So don't think that there's a lot of things that you can do to avoid mistakes and losing money, and kind of sidestep some big things early on in your trading. If you can just use stops and trade small and work on mastering your technique versus just throwing a bunch of money at the markets and hoping that something sticks. But that time in front of the screen there's really no substitute for it. So if you're going to be day trading, it's just consistently day after day after day, getting in front of the chart, watching in real time, drawing up your setups, placing trades, kind of getting some feedback from how you feel, how your trades are going. It can be challenging sometimes to find other traders to talk with, but if you can find a few buddies that you don't even have to live near each other, but just someone to kind of bounce some ideas off of, that can be really helpful. But that time in front of the screen is super, super valuable. And it just, it does take time. There's no shortcut for that. And I always like to say, work hard, be patient, and stay disciplined. And that persistence over time will get you there. If you can be there, if you can get through the hard times, then the easy times are that much easier. If you can get through a really choppy trading week or month or session without blowing yourself up and digging yourself a giant hole, then when the good trades come, those are just profits on top, and you're not just filling the hole back in and getting back to break even. So working smart is really important. Being patient and having that long game approach, and then the discipline from consistency day after day after day is really what I find to be that's been a huge part of my own success. So I kind of put a lot of these things that we've been talking about today in a little post over on the website, emoneymind.com/success hacks. So you can find those and a few more over there. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Hope you were able to take away a nugget or two. And I want to wish everyone the best of luck in your trading. And you can also reach me if you have specific questions there. My email, tim@emoneymind.com. So thanks, David, for hosting the event in Anka, and I appreciate you having me.